Hello, my name is Miss Amelia Griffith, and this is my classroom application plan for the course Literacy Strategies for Secondary Classrooms. My subject area is social studies, and the topic that I chose to present on is ethnic groups in Guyana. This lesson focuses on helping grade 8 students to understand the major ethnic groups that shaped our society and how cognitive and metacognitive reading strategies can support their learning. Let's go ahead and discuss the objectives and the strategies that we'll be using. The lesson objectives are to identify the 6 major ethnic groups in Guyana. So the students will be able to identify the 6 major groups inside of Guyana. They will be able to summarize their contributions to our society. They will be able to reflect on how understanding each group helps build unity. So I selected summarizing as the cognitive strategy because students will be reading about each ethnic group and need to distill key facts. I also chose self-questioning as the metacognitive strategy. And this is because it basically helps students actively think while reading. For example, asking, why did this group come here? Or how do they influence Guyana today? So by asking those questions, they would start to actively think. The materials that I would use or I would be using for the lesson are a handout that describes each group's origins and also contributions, a summary table that students will fill out in pairs, and an exit ticket with 2 reflective questions. I'll also begin the lesson with a photo collage showing diverse Guyanese people to activate prior knowledge and to spark discussion. So the photo collage will basically be showing different different persons from different ethnicities, multiple persons from multiple different ethnicities. Now let's go ahead and discuss the procedure. That's introduction plus reading. So I'll start the lesson by showing them the photo collage and asking them, what do you know about Guyana's ethnic groups? This basically encourages prior knowledge sharing. I'll also distribute the handouts and students will read through the content. Some will read aloud while others would follow along silently. At this point, I'll remind them that they need to summarize the key details and ask questions as they read too, so that I make sure that they're focused and I'm guiding them. So the modeling strategies. After the reading, I'll model both of the strategies. The first one would be, I would probably go with the East Indian section and summarize the main ideas, such as where they came from, what they contributed, and what makes them unique. Then I'll use self-questioning out loud. Why were these Indians brought to Guyana? Or how is their culture still seen today. I'll also, excuse me, I'll also be writing these questions down on the board to make sure they're focusing. So the two questions would be why these Indians were brought to Guyana and how is their culture still seen today. Next, I'll be having a paired activity for them to do. The students will work in pairs to complete the ethnic group summary table. Each pair will write the group that they're focusing on. They'll write their origin and their contributions as well. They will also create three of their own questions based on the reading. This will help them practice self-questioning while reinforcing the information. Next, I'll basically be after they're finished working in pairs, I'll have them regroup as a class so that we can do a class sharing session. Each group will take turns sharing one interesting fact that they learned and one thoughtful question that they would have formulated using the self-questioning strategy. As students share, I'll jot down keywords or words that stood out or contributions that stood out. Like for if we're doing the focusing on the Chinese, I would write down commerce that would stood out. Agriculture or even religion would stand out for the East Indians. For the Africans, festivals, music would stand out. What this basically helps to do is to give them a mind map in their brain, a visible mind map that shows the diversity for the students to help them understand. I'll also lead a guided reflection by giving them a question. The question I would go with would be why is it important to understand the different cultures that make up Guyana? They will be encouraged to respond freely, and I'll even be able to share deeper responses by using follow-up questions like how do these contributions shape our lives today? How can learning about others reduce stereotypes? What happens when groups are not valued or included? And what I think this does, it helps them build empathy, to build national pride or even critical awareness, especially relevant in our diverse classrooms. Students may also make links to current events or cultural celebrations that they've seen or even participated in, and this grounds the learning in their own experiences. Also, one of the last things that we'd be doing is the exit ticket and the wrap up. To wrap up the lesson, I'll distribute or display a simple exit ticket. That would be two prompts, questions that they would, two prompts that they would finish off. One thing that I learned about an ethnic group today is, and they would finish that off. Another one would be one question I still have is, and they would go ahead and finish that off as well. Students will write down their responses, and what this does is it basically gives me insight into what they've grasped, what I might need to review or revisit. And while these students complete their tickets, I will let them know that their voices matter, and just like every group in Guyana has shaped Guyana's history, that their ideas, their opinions, they also will be shaping our history as well. If I still have some time, I'll ask the students or volunteers if they want to share their responses. And finally, the lesson, the assessments, how I'll be assessing them is the first one was through the summary table. What that does, it allows me to assess how well they extract and condense information. The self-generated question shows their level of metacognitive engagement, and the exit ticket captures reflections and helps me to track their emotional and intellectual responses. By using both summarizing and self-questioning, the students are not just memorizing, they're processing this information. These strategies basically encourages them to slow down and and evaluate these ideas and make meaning of all of this information. But that's basically the process or what I plan on doing for this lesson. Thank you.